Let me tell you something about the dark. Real dark. Not your bedroom with the curtains closed, not a power outage in the suburbs where you've got candles and a phone charger and a neighbor 30 feet away. I'm talking about Nevada dark, desert dark. The kind of dark that has weight to it, that presses against your windshield like it's trying to get in. The kind of dark where your headlights don't feel like they're cutting through anything. They just light up a little tunnel of road, and beyond that tunnel, nothing. For 80 miles, nothing. That's Highway 50. And somewhere out there on that cracked, God-forsaken stretch of American nowhere, standing on the shoulder, with no car, no bike, no explanation, is a man. He's smiling. And he already knows your name. This is not a campfire story. This is not creepypasta. This is documented, reported, filed with actual highway patrol stations, typed into trucker forums with shaking hands, whispered in diners at 3 a.m. by people who don't scare easy and who will never, never drive that road again after dark. Stay with me, because it gets worse. It always gets worse. The federal government did something unusual back in 1986. They looked at Highway 50, the old Lincoln Highway, cutting 287 miles across the belly of Nevada, and they put it in print, officially, that this was the loneliest road in America. Not poetically, not as tourism marketing, as a warning. Gas stations separated by 70 miles, towns so small they barely hold their own names up, stretches where your cell signal doesn't just weaken, it dies, sudden and complete, like something out there reached up and pinched it off. The land itself feels hostile, ancient, like it was here long before humans started driving across it, and it has been patient about the whole inconvenience. Truckers have worked this road for decades, hard men and women, people who drive through the night alone as a profession, who eat bad food at weird hours, who know loneliness the way most of us know our own kitchen. People who have seen every strange, sad, ugly thing a dark American highway can produce. Accidents, bodies, things that fall off trucks and look like something else in the headlights. They are not soft people, and they are scared of this. His name was Gerald Hooper, 51 years old, 23 years behind the wheel, the kind of trucker who kept his rig spotless and his logbook meticulous and never, not once in 2 decades, filed a police report about anything he'd seen on the road until the fall of 1989. It was 2 a.m. westbound, somewhere in the gut of that 78-mile stretch between Ely and Eureka, a no-man's land so empty that the silence has a texture to it, like static you can feel in your teeth. His headlights grabbed something on the shoulder, a man, standing perfectly still, facing the road, hands at his sides. No car, no motorcycle, no bicycle, nothing. Just a man, planted in the dark like he'd grown there. Now, and understand this because it matters, Gerald Hooper was not a man who spooked. He slowed down not because he was afraid, but because you do not leave a human being standing alone on a Nevada highway at 2 a.m. That's not fear. That's basic human decency. He pulled alongside, rolled down his window. The desert air hit him, cold, dry, carrying that particular Highway 50 smell of dust and distance. The man turned. And Gerald Hooper, 23 years a trucker, a man who had seen a semi-flip at 70 miles an hour and helped pull the driver out before the fire reached the cab, felt something he hadn't felt since he was a child. Pure, white, animal terror. Because the man was smiling. Not the smile of someone grateful to see headlights, not the nervous, relieved grin of a stranded driver. This was something wrong wearing the shape of a smile. Too wide, too still. like someone had described a smile to a creature that had never seen one, and the creature had done its level best. "You need help?" Hooper called out. His voice came out steadier than he felt. Good voice discipline. 23 years. The man said nothing, just smiled. Then, quiet, conversational, the way you tell someone the time, the man said, "Gerald, you should keep driving." Gerald Hooper had no name on his truck, no name on his jacket, no CB handle, no company logo, nothing that would tell a stranger on a dark highway what his mother had decided to call him 51 years ago in a Reno hospital room. He kept driving. He didn't breathe properly for 4 miles. When he hit the lights of Eureka, that tiny, exhausted little town that felt like the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen, he pulled into the diner parking lot and sat in his truck for 11 minutes before he could make himself go inside. The waitress on duty, a woman named Carol, who'd worked that diner for 16 years and thought she'd heard everything, said Gerald Hooper walked in looking like a man who'd just watched someone die. He sat at the counter. She poured him coffee. He stared at it. After 20 minutes of silence, he looked up. He filed a report with the Nevada Highway Patrol the next morning. The officer who took it drove out and found nothing. No footprints, no tire tracks, nothing disturbed in the brush. Just the road, just the dark, just that awful, patient silence. Here's what should have buried this story in the one crazy trucker file forever. It didn't stop. Over the next 3 decades, at least 14 separate individuals reported encounters with the figure on Highway 50. Not variations of Gerald's story passed around and embellished. Independent accounts, different years, different mile markers, different descriptions of the man's appearance, reported to different people in different formats before anyone had connected them into a pattern. A long-haul driver named Marcus Webb saw him in 1994. He reported it to his dispatcher, who laughed, so he wrote it down in his personal journal instead. That journal surfaced online in 2015 when his daughter shared it after his death. 2 college students, a brother and sister from Reno, driving to visit family in Colorado, encountered the figure in 2001. They were together. Both heard their names. Both names. The sister gave a recorded interview on a podcast in 2018 and said something that stuck with me like a splinter under skin. A Nevada Department of Transportation worker named Al Brennan submitted a written account to his supervisor in 2003 after seeing the figure during a nighttime road survey. His supervisor told him to forget about it. Brennan kept a copy. It reads in part, the individual was standing approximately 40 feet off the shoulder in terrain that should not have been easily accessible on foot. There was no vehicle. I know these roads. There was no reasonable explanation for how he got there or how he intended to leave. When I called out, he smiled. And I don't know how else to say this, Doug, but the smile was not right. It was not a human expression. And then he said my name, my full name. I have not told anyone outside my family what happened after that because I don't think anyone would believe me. The account cuts off there. What happened after that, Al Brennan took to his grave in 2021. Patricia Holden was a nurse, 44 years old. Rational profession, rational woman, the kind of person who has held dying strangers' hands at 3 a.m. and maintained clinical composure and gone home and made breakfast. She was driving back from a medical conference in Reno. Highway 50 was a shortcut she'd taken before without incident. She saw the figure near mile marker 126, standing in the brush off the shoulder, facing the road. Every trained, professional, human instinct, she had said, this person needs help. She started to slow down, and then something else kicked in, something older than training, older than profession, something wired into the deepest, most primitive layer of the human brain, the part that kept your ancestors alive in the dark for 100,000 years before electricity and door locks and the illusion of safety. That part said, "Do not stop, do not stop, do not stop." She didn't stop. She passed him at 60 miles an hour, windows up, radio playing. She heard her name anyway. She wrote about it on a truckers' forum in 2007, a long, carefully worded post that began with the sentence, "I'm a medical professional, and I don't believe in the supernatural, and I need someone to explain to me what happened tonight." Nobody could. The post got 847 replies before the forum went dark in 2012. Many of them said some version of the same thing. "I saw him too." For 30 years, the smiling man let drivers pass. David Carver changed that. Carver was a freelance photographer, 38 years old, driving from Austin to Fallon for a landscape shoot at dawn. He was experienced with remote roads, comfortable in the dark, not the type to panic. He saw the figure at 1:40 a.m. near the stretch locals quietly call the Dead Corridor, 22 miles of highway that even Nevada residents don't like talking about. Unlike everyone before him, Carver stopped. He pulled over, got out of the car, took 4 steps toward the figure in the brush. The man was smiling. "Hey, are you hurt? Do you need—" The man spoke quietly, like sharing a secret. He said Carver's full name. First, middle, last. Carver froze. Then the man said, "You have a daughter? She's 7. Her name is Mia. She's asleep right now. You left her with your sister because your sister lives in Fallon and you thought it was closer to the shoot location. Mia asked you not to go. You told her you'd be back before she woke up." Every word was correct. Carver ran. He made it back to his car, locked the doors, and drove 94 miles without stopping. He called his sister from a gas station payphone. His cell had no signal. At 2:30 a.m. His sister answered, confused and groggy. Mia was fine, asleep, safe. Carver sat in the gas station parking lot until sunrise. He has given 2 interviews about that night. In both of them, when asked what the man looked like up close, what his face looked like, his eyes, the details you can only see when you're 4 feet away, instead of passing at 60 miles an hour, Carver goes quiet for a long time. Then he says the same thing both times. He didn't look lost. He didn't look dangerous. He looked like he was exactly where he wanted to be. Like he'd been waiting. Not for me, specifically. He pauses. For anyone who would stop. No one knows. Law enforcement has investigated multiple times across multiple decades. They find nothing, no footprints, no campsites, no evidence of any human presence off the shoulder of Highway 50 where witnesses describe seeing him. Paranormal investigators have staked out the corridor 3 separate times with cameras and recording equipment. One team's footage from a 2016 expedition shows something standing in the brush at 3:12 a.m., tall, still, facing their vehicle. By the time they got their cameras pointed, it was gone. The going theories run the range. A deeply disturbed individual with a fixation, a series of unconnected, disturbed individuals, a psychological phenomenon produced by the specific conditions of extreme isolation and sleep deprivation on a long, dark road, the mind manufacturing what fear expects to see. And then there's the theory that the old-timers in Ely and Eureka don't say out loud, but that lives in their eyes when Highway 50 comes up after dark. That the desert was here long before the highway, that some things don't need explaining, that some things just are. That road is still there, Highway 50. still cutting across Nevada, still earning its name every single night. And if you ever find yourself on it, maybe a road trip gone scenic, maybe a shortcut that made sense on the map, here's what the truckers say. Drive fast. Don't stop. Don't roll your window down. And if you see a man on the shoulder, if he's standing too still, smiling too wide, and he turns to look at you, keep driving. Don't wonder how he got there. Don't wonder how he'll get home. Don't let your humanity talk your instincts out of the driver's seat, because the ones who stopped, they don't talk about it the same way anymore. Something behind their eyes went quiet, like a light that got turned down, not off, still there, just dimmer. David Carver still photographs, Patricia Holden still nurses, Marcus Webb's daughter still reads her father's journal and still can't finish the last entry. And somewhere on that flat black stretch of American highway between mile markers that mean nothing and towns that barely exist, a man is standing on the shoulder, smiling, waiting. This story crawled under your skin. Good. That means you're paying attention. Drop a comment below. Would you have stopped? Most people say no. Most people are wrong about what they'd actually do. Subscribe if you want more true stories from the dark corners of America. The ones that don't make the news, that live in police reports and old forum posts and the nightmares of people who know better than to talk about them. Share this with one person who thinks they don't scare.